Welcome back to the Own Your Power Lifestyle Show. I'm Coach Simone Kelly in the Own Your Power living room with amazing guests today. We have a really hot topic. And, for those who don't know, if it's your first time coming to Own Your Power Radio, we're a trusted guide to conscious living, intuitive wisdom, and personal growth. Today's topic is your love toxic? We're going to talk about the signs that you're in an abusive relationship because relationships are not supposed to hurt. And I came up with this topic because of a client that I have who's also a friend who's been dealing with this. You know how they say you keep dating the same guy over and over again? That's what's happening. So I really wanted to touch on the topic, but not just for her, but for a lot of people in the Own Your Power community who have been dealing with this. And there's so many people, men and women, believe it or not, it's not just women, that don't see the red flags or they're in denial. So let's introduce the guests we have, the amazing panel I have. First, I have Jameelah Trimble, who is a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist in St. Augustine. Welcome, Jameelah.
Hi.
We also have Coach Rochelle Schwartz, who is in Fort Lauderdale. She's a relationship coach, and she is amazing, and I love her. So welcome, Rochelle. And then we also have Yali Giovanni, who's a holistic wellness practitioner in Atlanta.
Hey, everyone.
Actually, no, I should correct myself. It didn't come about just because of the friend. It also came about because I have a friend/client, Carquella Clemons, who's a director of a domestic violence shelter. And that's how we really started talking about how women are ending up there, unfortunately. So welcome, Carquella.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks for coming. All right, but first I want to talk about the different kinds of abuse because I think, and even me, I didn't even know there were so many kinds. I just thought, when you hear domestic violence, you automatically think it's just somebody getting hit or, talking to somebody talking to you crazy. You don't think about anything really else. The only other one that I didn't know about was financial abuse. And I remember from Susie Orman used to talk about that a lot. For those who know, Susie Orman's a financial expert. And there's so many women that, my husband will do it. I have to ask my husband. They don't have no power. And then God forbid the husband dies or does something, cheats on them, leaves them. They don't have no money. They don't know what to do with themselves. That verbal abuse is one. Physical abuse is obviously the obvious, hitting, pushing, restraining. And some people even rationalize, say, well, he doesn't hit me. He just held me down, or he just pushed me a little bit. He didn't really hit me. And I'm like, yeah, that's still abuse. Emotional, psychological abuse. That's a big one, especially since a lot of people know a lot about narcissists now. That's the big fancy word. Everybody's a narcissist now, right? But, gaslighting is another big one. Manipulating, that's all about emotional, psychological abuse. Like I said, sexual abuse is also another one. I didn't really know much about this. And tell me if you guys know about this. Sexual abuse, aside from obviously somebody, raping you or forcing you to have a threesome or whatever it is, reproductive control? I never heard of that.
I'm just going to speak on that for 1 second. I actually see that a lot recently. And last year, I've had a lady come in with 7 children and from one husband. And he continued wanting her to have kids and continue to have kids because he kept telling her, you can't leave. Who's going to take care of you? Who's going to want you with 7 children? And every time she had a baby, he named the child. He did not give her any access to name the children. So she actually had to leave after baby number 7 or 8, and she ended up at our shelter. So reproductive control is a big thing. They poke holes in the condom. Yes, they do a lot of different things like that. Well, they're controlling it. She doesn't know that there's holes in the condom, or after each beating or after each child is born, he apologizes. It
Of
won't
course.
happen again.
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of you and the children. That's just a little bit about what I've seen at the shelter when it comes to reproductive control.
Well, these are the ones I wanted to ask you guys about that definitely I never heard much about. We heard about financial abuse, obviously. That's obvious, controlling the money, sabotaging employment, probably going to job, starting trouble, withholding resources, forced dependence. That's another one. Where the woman is taking care, or which way? The other way around? Give me an example of that.
Forced dependence can go both ways, with her being the only one working and him constantly giving excuses to why he can't work. The opposite is her depending solely on him. And like you said something earlier about sabotaging her job, continuing to sabotage her job so she can't keep a job. She won't have any references to be able to get a new job. So guess what? She has to stay with him. So there's a lot of different ways. I hear some of the craziest stories. Lady was working as an IT at a Fortune 500 company. He showed up, acted a fool, got her fired, and blacklisted from most of the job. So When she came to the shelter, she literally had to start over again, completely over again. So, yes, sports dependence is a real thing.
But these are the new ones I wanted to share. That they're technically not new. I just never knew they had a name for them. Digital and technological abuse. This makes sense because I know a lot of people monitoring phone calls and texts, stalking on social media, GPS tracking, and demanding passwords. Can I tell you, the girlfriend that I'm talking about, that's exactly what's happening. Where he's like, well, why can't I see your phone? Why can't we share our phones? He wants to see her text messages. And then I actually know females that track their husbands or boyfriends, that they'll put like tracking devices on them to see where they are, and they'll show up where they are. Like, hey, funny seeing you here. So have you heard of that at all? Any of you ladies? Digital technological abuse. That's what the term is called.
Definitely, yes, I've heard of that. Also, with putting the tracking devices on your car is a thing. So showing up to different locations, tracking your social media, things like that.
You usually hear that it's women doing, well, I shouldn't say that. At least from what I've seen a lot of women doing the tracking device things, but then as far, or looking at your social media, like, well, who you liking? Why'd you put hearts on her page? Like, grown women now. I'm not talking about no teenagers that are like obsessed with what the person is doing. Now, this is another one. I have another client that spiritual and religious abuse. Now, I think that's a big one. You've seen that in a lot of cults, right? Using faith or belief systems to control, shame, or manipulate. So again, another person I know, she's dating a guy, but basically she took a picture of herself in front of a heart on the street. It was like somebody drew a heart, and she took a picture of her legs and sent it to him. And he sent her a scathing text like, how dare you out there disrespecting me, and inappropriate. When I saw the picture, I'm like, she had on jogging pants and her ankles were showing. But he went on a tirade of how disrespectful she is, and she's in the streets dressing like a whore, and he should just be with a whore. My thing is, this is the issue that I see with a lot of these women, is that they go, oh my God, he's crazy. What the hell? I can't believe that. And then the next day, oh, I'm so sorry, babe. I was just having a bad day. I love you. Here's some roses. So that blows my mind all the time. How do you deal with that when they ignore the red flags? Yali and Rochelle, because both of you were in abusive relationships. So can you share a little bit about maybe some of the things that you went through? Yali, you want to start?
I wouldn't say that I ignored it. It was so subtle that you don't realize that he at you a little bit by a little bit. And then by the time you realize what's going on, you're like, it's so deep. For me, I felt like I was outside of my body. Like I could see and feel the control, but I had no control over it. It was the weirdest experience. So when people will say, well, you can just leave. No, it's not just leave. It's more than that. Again, it goes back to being a spirit, having a physical encounter, because I felt like there was something over me controlling me, and I had no control over it. So I wouldn't say that you ignore the sign, because they're so great at manipulating that they come in so subtle and they hit you. And then you realize, oh my God, I'm being abused.
Right. Let me ask you this, because I've seen this in a few stories from clients, and I almost was in one of those, but thankfully I had a mentor that was like, those are red flags. He's going to hit you next. Where it was very like, I want to be around you all the time. I want to be around you all the time. And it was more of a like, oh my God, he really likes me. And it was really isolation, because he never met hardly any of my friends, and I didn't know. So, and then he started to make me think I was crazy, that I was flirting with everybody, which I wasn't, but I'm just a fun, outgrown person. Y'all know me, come on. But he started to make me I started to really think, am I flirting with people? So did he do anything like that to minimize you, to make you think you were crazy, or like you're doing something wrong? Did that happen?
Yes, definitely. I used to wear makeup and I used to be really dainty. And he would say, oh, you don't have to wear makeup. You pretty without the makeup. You don't have to wear. My favorite designer is Anne Klein. So, her clothes fits to the T.
Mhm.
And he would say like, oh, you shouldn't wear that skirt, or you shouldn't wear that dress because it's showing too much of your shape. If the skirt or dress was just above the knee, you're showing too much. But I was in the church at the time. So I was like, oh, maybe he's leading me into something great or whatever.
Right.
I don't want to go into that. But
Yeah. Well, let me ask. That's kind of like how you started to really
Yeah.
little by little. You're
Little
right. They
by
chip
little.
it off. Yeah, and you start to
Mhm.
believe it. Now, Rochelle, what about you?
Well, mine is so very different in the fact I was very young. I mean, I met my husband is 15, my
Ooh.
ex-husband. I knew nothing, zero, nothing, and came from a family that had no love and no connection. And so I wanted to be saved. And so when I noticed and I never even thought about it, he would get so irate and angry that he would bang on a wall and his fist went through it. Never occurred to me that he had anger issues. Never. I so overlooked things because I wasn't aware. And the day I was getting married, I knew I shouldn't.
How old were you when you married him?
20. And so, prior to that, there was so many red flags. What did I know about a red flag? I see a red flag at the beach. Don't go in the water, which is really a good analogy. But the reason I married him was basically because of my parents, because they took a loan out for my wedding. And
My
I felt
gosh,
I
guilt.
disciplined them. I might as well do it. So I set my whole life up. They say every choice matters.
Right.
And that's basically as I walked down the aisle. And it was a very hard road to take. Would I have changed it? Absolutely not. I learned so much about myself because of who he was a narcissist. He would switch things around, and I thought like I didn't know anything. I mean, you see things today, and it's like, how the hell did you do this? But this was my lessons. These were my lessons to be learned.
Right.
And I'm so grateful. I have a fabulous relationship with him because I worked on that. I just did. And so I'm so grateful. And of course, various things prior. I was verbally abused, physically abused, sexually abused. So, I have that road that has been so healing for me with so much forgiveness and love and gratitude for everything.
Right. Well, it definitely helped you with your career as a relationship coach. So a lot of those
Oh, yes.
lessons helped you, right? I wanted to share a little bit from somebody that is in the On Your Power radio community that shared her escaping an abusive relationship. Her red flags were, okay, he was keeping tabs on her whereabouts. That was a big sense of control, like where are you, what time you going to be back? Jealousy of her close friends and family, relationships outside of him. Remember I talked about isolation? A lot of people don't see that at first. He wants to get your only love and attentiveness. Abuse isn't always physical. She said he would be verbal, psychological, manipulative. Oh, she's giving advice to say you should track your patterns because they apologize a lot. Like the friend I have, she literally broke up with him like every week. I'm like, they break up every week. I'm like, are you journaling? Are you going to your therapist? And she's going to the therapist and the therapist is still telling her, run. And she's still like, oh, but he apologized. And I'm like, okay. I'm praying he don't hit her next because that's what I always think is coming. And then he's always saying, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. And then that was the beginning of how they test you how far they can go. And she said that's what, and then eventually started to hit her. Thankfully, that person is happily married now to an amazing guy. All right, so now with that said, because you deal with this, Carquella, on a daily basis, you're in the front lines, literally helping, saving women that are escaping survivors. What are some common signs that abuse survivors overlook because it's become normalized in their relationships? Can you share a couple of things that people need to pay attention to?
Sure. Actually, you just named all of them. Everything that you just named is
Really?
pretty what they overlook because think about it, you're getting dressed, you're going out to go have dinner or drink with a friend. He's like, where you going? And you're telling your girl, oh, he's acting jealous. You want me to go out. And you think it's cute at first. He's kind of like making it seem like if you go, okay, I'll be okay. But it'll be better if you stay. Like he's playing games with you. And I get that a lot from a lot of the participants. They're extremely jealous, especially if you get pregnant. Sometimes they don't want you to get pregnant because then all of the attention is going to be on the baby. And that's a big sign. She's like, oh, he'll be okay once the baby gets here. And the baby doesn't always make things better. It puts more strain. And then they're like, okay, I'll have one more. And that doesn't help things. That doesn't help things at all. The guilt trip is a big thing that I hear. They're always guilt tripping them. Why are you leaving? Isolation from family and friends. One of the big things that I see, believe it or not, is I get a lot of individuals who are from other states. I have a lady right now who's from Atlanta. He moved her down here, away from her family, away from her friend. She has no one to run to. And she literally calls us, her and 4 children, calls us. She's outside. He kicks her out. You have nowhere to go. No one's going to help you. He's isolated her from all of her family and friends. She's afraid to call them. He goes, you go to your mom. I know where she is. He threatens to kill them.
Oh my
He threatens to kill
God.
their friends. Of course, of course. A lot of the times, family and friends will separate themselves from the survivor because when she goes over their house, he knows where to go. He constantly goes to the friend's house. Looking for her. So those are some of the biggest things that I get from the majority of the participants. Those are some of the big things that you don't think about. That you think are cute in the beginning.
Yeah, like you said, they think it's cute, like it's an ego boost. Jameelah, what about you with your clients? Have you ever had any clients that have dealt with anything like this?
Absolutely. It's actually about learning the signs of like manipulation and gaslighting. Isolation is a key to their whole motive. Like if I have you and you're to myself, I can do whatever it is that I want to do to you. You have no support system. And so with that, there is the question of your reality. Am I really feeling this way? Is this really a situation? And so at that point, you start to question everything. And he's the only close person, or she.
Yeah, because I didn't want to tell there are some fellas that are getting abused too. So I've seen it. Most times when it's women, when it's men, it's not always physical. It's like more psychological, kind of
Emotional.
abuse.
Yeah.
Emotional and psychological. Yeah, yeah. So speaking of that, what is an example of gaslighting? Because that's a term a lot of people throw around, and I want to make it, clear what exactly is an example of that, and why is it so effective, and how can people kind of wake up to the signs of being gaslit?
Basically, just questioning your own reality. You can see that the sky is blue, but for them, they're telling you that it's a different color. And you're like, no, but I see that you're doing this to me. And it's like, no, I'm really not. And then that comes, the apologies and the gifts and, acts of service and the outpouring of love and love bombing. But essentially, they go back to those same behaviors. So,
Right.
it's basically just you questioning yourself and lacking confidence to move forward with what you know is a red flag.
Right. Something Rochelle said that I think is key to pay attention to. You came from a family where there was a lot of, was it verbal abuse? So it's almost like it's normal to you. Like it's like this is like home. My friend that I was talking about, her mom is the verbal abuser, and this girl is drop dead gorgeous, but her mother would always tell her she was ugly or your hair is ugly or. So in her mind, she's always thinking she's ugly or she can't do better. And I'm always like, he's not the last guy on earth. That's my joke with her. But how does that come into play? Like the whole family element, or like how you grew up with what you're willing to accept?
Well, because you've been conditioned. You've been conditioned to, that's what love looks like. So you gravitate to what's close to what what comes natural for you.
I wanted to say is when you spoke about love, I grew up thinking that love was sex because that's all I heard with my mother and father. That's all I heard. So I grew up, that's what it is. Love is sex. And it was such an awakening for me to know that and see that. And so it's just those signs, very quickly, I had a client who saw signs, but she had such faith and trust in God. And she obviously didn't realize that we all have choices. And there were signs for her to see with him. He had OCD. He was passive aggressive. She divorced him. He would follow her all over. And then he shot her.
Oh, God.
She started dating somebody. And that he's in prison now. He shot her right in front of her child, and the trauma that both boys had. And it was such a horrific thing. And she was such a beautiful person, but there was so many signs to her. And obviously we have a choice. And for some reason she kept on saying, no, God will take care of it. God will take care of it. And
Jesus.
she died.
Oh my God.
She was gorgeous. He's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh, wow.
You know what? Find when you realize, when you have awareness of what's happening to you see the signs then. Then you start to acknowledge what was happening and what has been happening up until that time. Now, Rochelle shared something that when you have a belief, for instance, in God, you trust that process that God is going to just take him away, however way, right? For me, I removed myself from the home and he still found me, right? But the way he found me was the person that helped me find my place actually told them where I was.
God.
Right. And so when he came into the home, I was in the I was in the shower and I felt the shift in the home. And I said, I wonder what's that? And I turned off the water, but I didn't hear anything. And when I got out of the shower and I opened the bathroom door, he was standing right there inside my home. I started screaming, but before I screamed, I looked him in the eye. I knew in that moment he was going to take my life. I knew, you see it. I saw it. And I started screaming. And because I started screaming, I yelled, somebody call the police. He snatched the glasses off my face, broke it in half, and ran, knowing I couldn't see if I had my glasses. But again, it's like you try to get away, but then you have people who don't want to see you progress because I couldn't understand why would you share my information with them? Help me find this.
Right.
But it's hard to explain when you're in the situation. It's not as easy as people believe it is.
All right. So now, because you two, Rochelle and Yali, have escaped the situation, obviously, what tools do you use now to kind of navigate relationships, to kind of see the red flags? Is there anything that you do? And then to chime in on that, Jameelah, can you offer any tips that people can, take away from this? 'Cause I know you're in an amazing relationship now. I met him. He's amazing. So tell us, what tools do you use now? Did you do anything like journaling, meditation? I mean, I know you do a lot of spiritual stuff as a holistic practitioner.
That's actually what I learned along the journey of healing because I wasn't doing any of that when I was in my I didn't even know that existed, to be honest, when I was married to that man. But now I pay attention to the signs because they're always there. So if I see, like when I was dating, if I see somebody trying to alienate me from my friends, deuces, you gotta go. This is not gonna work out. Go your way, I go my way. I just pay attention and I act immediately.
And Rochelle, I know you use a lot of tools to kind of stay grounded. What are some things you can share?
I've been doing this inner work since 1995. So I'm certified through shadow work. And that's where I got all my teachings from Debbie Ford. So the tools I use for years, because I got this at 30 years old, I'm 80 now. So I have a lot of wisdom under my belt.
Rochelle, are you freaking kidding? Yo, I'm bugging out right now because I think when I met Rochelle, she was maybe 65.
Something.
I've known you that long? Jeez, Louise. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she still got her shoulder out. I always tell her she always got her shoulder out.
Yeah, honey. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I digress.
In my age group, so to speak, even a little younger, I'm so clear that I just know. The veil is so thin for me. I can feel it. If someone's talking, I'm thinking they are so full of shit. I mean, I just know. So I do a lot of Joe Dispenza's work for about 3-4 years now too, plus shadow work, but I do a lot of journaling. I do a lot of meditating. I love going out in nature to the beach or park. I just feel this sense of such peace and tranquility. And I also do alternate handwriting, which is mind blowing.
Heard of that?
I mean, oh yeah.
We'll have to do a show on that.
And so, always, because I do a meditation on Sundays. And I said, I closed the book from my past. I've healed tons of stuff. And it's always come back to love, forgiveness, and gratitude. That's really what it is.
Right.
And so if I can forgive and wrote tons of forgiveness letters, love letters to myself, there's just so much you could do. Gratitude lists. It's just, there's a wealth of knowledge out there. There really is. So I am just blessed and grateful. I really, really am. And excited to see what's going to happen now. So with a man, I have no man, but I'm okay. Because if I have somebody, great. If I have nobody, great. I have me.
Right. And that's a problem why a lot of people do stay in relationships with they think having a man makes them and then they suffering. Giving tips to someone when they're ready to leave. What are some of the steps to create a safe and realistic exit plan? Off the top of my head, I know it's not always good to tell somebody a plan. Try to plan it in silence if you can. That's my tip. Carquella, you're the expert because you have to take these women. And so what would be some of your tips?
One thing that we do is called the safety plan. We do one when they come into shelter, and we do it periodically throughout the 6 to 8 weeks that they're at the shelter. And then when they're getting ready to exit, we do an exit safety plan. And it consists of a lot of things, but mainly financial safety plan is very, very important. While they're there, we try to help them get employment so that they can save their money, so that they don't have to depend on anyone. Another thing that we do, the safety plan is, especially if you live in Florida, I try to tell people, tell them that you have like that go bag in the back of your car because you live in a hurricane state. Because one thing that a lot of people don't, that I do, actually, I was brought up doing it, but I tell my ladies, if you have a car, get a bag. I call it the go bag. This is a big thing when it comes to safety plan. Put $50 in there, put a pair of clothes in there, and just put it in your car. Put it underneath the tire or something like that, and just, hey, why do you have an extra bag in there? But just in case the house burns down. Or just in case an emergency happened or something like that. Because believe it or not, half of my participants go back. And so I'm like, okay, let's safety plan surrounding that. So those are some of the things that I tell them. Yali mentioned something earlier about the person who helped her move was actually the person who revealed where she was. And we actually deal with that a lot too, because part of the safety plan is make sure someone knows where you are at all times. Make sure if you're getting ready to leave, there's someone you can call. But at the same time, that can be kind of scary because you want to make sure it's not someone that he knows. Because if it's someone that he knows and you think that he or she is on your side, this person, whoever the trusted friend is, will tell, she moved out of town. She moved to Atlanta, or she moved here. They will tell. So it's a fine line. You want to have that safe person that you can confide in, but at the same time, it's almost like part of your safety plan has to be you're the only one who knows what's happening. That's it. And if you have children, I like to tell them to maybe tell a teacher at school. If such and such doesn't come to school on this day and they miss a day or two, reach out. Something like that. You kind of have to have someone that kind of checks up on you to kind of see what's happening with you, because they will kill you and nobody will be able to find you. I worked at a shelter in Miami, and the lady was leaving our shelter, walking down the street with her children, and the husband came and ran them over.
Oh my God.
So they will find you if they really want to find you. And guess who told him? Her mother.
Oh my God.
Told him where she was. So those are some of the things that I would tell them to do when they're getting ready to exit the shelter. Have your own money. Be careful who you tell. Make sure that you have someone to talk to. You need a therapist.
Right.
You need someone else besides me or some of the caseworkers at the shelter to talk this through, because we're there to help you, but we're not licensed like Ms. Jameelah is. You need someone who can actually talk to you and help you with signs and to really help you deal with it. And I think that's a big thing too.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. That's a lot of wake-up calls there. Jameelah, so with that said, if they come to you, what are some things you would tell them? A couple of tips, maybe.
So with the safety plan involved, you have to start to rebuild character and rebuild yourself from the situation, building your confidence, assessing who you are as a person and who you'd like to be moving forward. Because oftentimes your identity relies or lies upon that situation. Or, you were a girlfriend, I was a wife, I was I'm someone's mom. So identifying who you are as a person moving forward, that you can build your confidence and know that whatever step you take will be the best step for you.
With that said, I'm very grateful for all of you for sharing, and hopefully we'll have you back for another topic, because you all have amazing wealth of knowledge when it comes to this topic and hopefully many other topics. Jameelah, tell us how people can reach you, your website.
Can be reached at positive-therapy.co. Also, I'm on Instagram at Jameelah Trimble, LCSW.
Rochelle, how can we reach you online?
They can reach me at, because I work with my daughter as well, mother-daughter dynamic duo.
Yes.
Because we've done a lot of work together and shadow work and so forth for 28 years. It's mother-daughter dynamic duo on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and we have a podcast called Together We Rise. You know what, Simone? This is so perfect because people need to hear this. They really need to hear this. And there's so much shame attached to this because of all of this, that it's so important for things like this. What you just did today makes a big difference. It really does. So I thank you.
Thank you for being here and sharing. All right. And Yali, how can we find you, Missy?
You can find me at Yali Giovanni across all platforms, yaligiovanni.com, Yali Giovanni on Instagram, Facebook.
If any ladies that need any type of shelter, I want them to know that YWCA of Palm Beach County is available. You can call 561-640-0050. And if you need shelter, if you need outreach assistance, if you need help with IFP attorney, economic empowerment, any of those items, I can definitely get you to the right person. We're here to help the community, and we're here to make sure that the women and the children are safe. And that is what I'm here for. So they can contact me that way. My email address is cclemons@ywcatbc.org. There's someone who's probably listening right now who needs shelter, who is in Palm Beach County, and I can definitely do my best to assist you. We help singles and we help families, moms and their children. And if we're full, I know what other shelters to direct you to.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for being a part of the Own Your Power radio show. I appreciate you. Much love, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.